Welcome back. Time now to talk more politics. We are joined by Chris Cillizza of the Washington Post. He has one of the best political blogs in the nation. He's one of my favorites. Chris, thank you so much for being here.
Roby, thanks for having me, and the kind words, which I didn't know I was getting.
Let's talk about some of the political news of this week. Hillary Clinton holds her first press conference in 240-something odd days here. Did we learn anything from Hillary Clinton at this press conference this week?
No, other than I think what we largely knew, which was that she could do this relatively well. Now, she didn't get a question about emails in her email server, which Republicans were up in arms about. But she got a question about why wasn't she ahead more than Donald Trump in the polls? What did she make of RNC Chairman Reince Priebus's comments that she didn't smile? She got some questions that were pointed, if not adversarial, and she was fine. The takeaway I have is what took so long? We were talking about December 2015, the last time she answered questions on camera in a sort of formal or semi-formal press conference setting. She seemed fine, and I think it's one of those deals. She would have been better off letting the cover off the steam earlier rather than letting it build, because really, she was able to drive a day of negative news about Donald Trump, talking about his comments about military generals, his positive comments about Russia. She could have been doing that more over these many months in which she didn't talk to the press.
Well, now they'll just say that she's only given one press conference in the last 247 days or something like that. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that commander-in-chief forum that you referenced there with Trump's comments about the generals there. Consensus was that Donald Trump, very short on specifics, Hillary Clinton, maybe not too comfortable in the forum there. Did it change the trajectory of the race at all? Do you think it changed anything?
Not really. And I don't say that as a slight or anything like that of the forum. I say that as it's difficult, given how well known both of these people are and how formed opinion about the two of them is. It's hard to imagine a single event like this, even in prime time, 30 minutes each, on a broadcast network. It's hard to see anyone changing their minds based on this one thing. Look, I think every time Trump does something like this, and the biggest test will be the debate on September 26th, the first debate of three, he has to find ways to assure worried Republicans, independents who may not be totally settled on where they're going to vote and would like to vote for someone other than Hillary Clinton, that he can be a safe port, that he can be a safe vote. I do not think he did a great job of that in the commander-in-chief forum. Some of his stuff about Russia, I think, and Vladimir Putin, well, he says nice things about me, so I'm going to say nice things about him, citing the fact that Putin has an 82% approval rating. I'm not sure that those are the things that are going to calm the concerns of a lot of people looking for a candidate other than Clinton.
Yeah, I think that was the Russia state poll there. Had him at 82% approval there. It should have been a lot higher, I think, in those countries.
I mean, as I tweeted out, Kim Jong-un shot 18 holes in one. It doesn't make him a great golfer, right? I mean, you got to understand that their system of government and polling is not necessarily the same as ours.
All right, let's talk about some polling, though. National polls kind of jumping around. We'll see Trump up by a few. We see Hillary up by a few. And to me, I'm a state-by-state poll guy, and I want to talk about that, too. But what do the national polls tell you about the mood of the electorate, or what should you read into those national polls?
Sure. I think Hillary Clinton's post-convention bounce, it was big and long, has worn off. I think you now see Republicans who had jumped off of Trump, not necessarily onto Clinton, but into undecided, are now getting back on with Trump. Remember, Hillary Clinton has had a few tough weeks of publicity, again, around the Clinton Foundation, around her emails. Trump has been, for him, relatively measured PR-wise, but I mean, obviously that's a sliding scale. So I think you're seeing nationally the race close a little bit. Most polls that had her up 8, 10 now have her up 2, 3, 4. And then, state polling, which I think is more important, particularly in swing states. Although I'm from Connecticut and you're in Arkansas, so neither of those states are going to matter all that much in the election, I don't think. But I mean, look, I think the real story is swing state polling. That's where we're going to know, how this race ultimately is going to shake out.
Do you think it's still advantage Clinton at this point in time in that state-by-state polling, the Electoral College vote?
I do. And that's not solely, Roby, because she's running against Donald Trump. I actually think Trump gets a little bit unfairly blamed for the reality of the electoral map in this election. It was the truth in 2012 as well as 2008, which is Democrats just start in a better place. There are more big population states that are reliably Democratic than there are big population states that are reliably Republican. He's got to find ways to win states that Mitt Romney didn't. That means places like Ohio and Florida that are quite close, but also Virginia potentially, Colorado, Pennsylvania. His lack of competitiveness in Colorado and Virginia should be concerning to Republicans. Those are states that he really needs to turn. And he's behind or close to behind, tied in North Carolina, a state that Romney won. So the math is just hard from an electoral college perspective for any Republican. This would be true if it was Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or John Kasich or, Asa Hutchinson. Fill in whoever, you think would be the best Republican nominee for president. And they would all have a similar problem to Trump, maybe not as bad due to his numbers among the Hispanic community, which are at this point disastrously bad.
I see you throwing a little rumor out there, Governor Hutchinson for president there. Maybe the bumper stickers are getting made up there.
Can't hurt.
All right, last question for you here. You started a new kind of a podcast this week. Cillizza, is that how I pronounce it there? Tell me a little bit about what that is.
Perfectly pronounced.
All right, tell me what it's about.
So I've been wanting to do a podcast for a long time. I love radio. I do a fair amount of TV, but TV is hard because it's, you only get so much time usually to talk. I like radio and audio in general because you get a little more time to talk. The problem is, this is true of almost everything in politics, the political podcast landscape's pretty crowded. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. So what I've came up with is we're doing a quiz show. I have two contestants, guests every week. I run through some quotes. I run through some headlines. Are they real? Are they fake? We do a lightning round. I give out a prize, which is a thumbs up trophy. Can't go wrong with that. The loser has to tweet out something nice about me. First episode is live, iTunes or Stitcher. It's Chuck Todd, the host of Meet the Press on NBC, who I assume most people have heard of. And if you haven't heard of the woman who is the other contestant, her name is Alexandra Petri. She works for The Post. She writes our humor column called Compost. Hilarious. Good first episode. We're going to do it every Thursday for the foreseeable future. Thanks for letting me plug it. Cillizza, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever podcasts are not even sold, but produced.
All right. He's Chris Cillizza with the Washington Post. You can also follow him on Twitter @TheFix. It's one of the best Twitter feeds there, and you got to see how Chris responds to the trolls that come after him. That's the best part of it, besides the political analysis. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
And that is all for this week's edition of Talk Business and Politics. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next time.